Here to give us the conservative woman's perspective on the President's State of the Union address and that call for equal pay, Miriam Weaver and Amy Jo Clark, co-founders of Chicks on the Right. You find them at chicksontheright.com. And of course, one of their great books is Right for a Reason, Life, Liberty, and a Crap Load of Common Sense. Provocative title, to say the least. So, Amy Jo, equal pay for equal work sounds great. Was there a problem with not having every Republican stand and applaud last night?
Well, equal pay for equal women would be wonderful if it started in the White House. I think that would be great. In fact, I believe that Valerie Jarrett was asked about that this morning, and she dodged that question. But I don't think that's happening in the White House. And it would be wonderful if it started there, if it started at home, if they're going to be touting that to everybody.
So,
well, it was interesting.
Go ahead.
It was interesting too because he said specifically in his speech that Congress needs to pass legislation to make sure that there is equal pay for women, which made me wonder why he hadn't heard of the Equal Pay Act of '63, because it's been around for quite a while.
You know, as we're talking about this, it has me grow introspective to my days in Congress, where you had a lot of guys on the left who would come to the floor and say equal pay for equal work, and then you'd check the salaries their staffs were getting, and much like the White House, the women weren't getting the dough. Why is there, Miriam, why is there always this gulf between rhetoric and reality for so many on the left?
You know, I don't know, because we're always baffled by it. We're baffled by it every day. And anytime we hear one of President Obama's State of the Union addresses, we can't comprehend how he can be so completely tone deaf to what's really happening in the country, and how he can gloss over issues that are so incredibly important to Americans right now. For example, he didn't even mention the word Al-Qaeda in his entire speech. And that's a pretty big issue for people. People are worried about Islamic terror, and that didn't get nearly enough play.
And how the left can keep giving him a pass on that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting, Amy Jo, because they punch the right buttons rhetorically. They put up the billboards that have these slogans. For example, last night, the president says, hey, we got to make child care more affordable, but is rolling out yet another government program the right way to go? Will that make it affordable?
Well, that's the thing, is I think that he is always saying the solution is more government, more spending, more bureaucracy. And we all know, well, at least we on the right all know, that just simply is not the answer. But that just seems to be his solution to everything.
Let me ask you about the Republican woman who responded. What did you think of Senator Joni Ernst? First to you, Miriam.
Well, we've been so impressed by her from the moment she sort of stepped onto the national stage. And I'll admit, I've been very nervous for her, because all week I've been actually nervous for her, because it's just such a hard thing to do, is give the rebuttal to absolutely no live audience, not have that immediate audience feedback. I thought she did a really nice job. There were parts of it towards the beginning where I'll admit I was a little uncomfortable when she kind of went on and on about the sandwich bags over her feet and her shoes. I thought, you've got 7 to 10 minutes to deliver this. This needs to have a lot more punch to it. But then towards the end, I was really, really impressed with her manner of delivery and all of it. I thought she did a nice job.
I think it was a little folksy, but it was good. I mean, what can you expect from that, really?
Yeah, now, you know, the whole deal with it, I would agree with you. I probably would have put the humble beginnings at the end of the speech, not try to establish my modesty bona fides there at the start. But other than that, she came out and had her say. And Amy Jo, now, with 30 seconds remaining, do you think, I guess the way we can measure it is how much they pillory her in the mainstream press? Should she get ready for a round of criticism?
Oh, absolutely. They're going to completely criticize her. Yeah, she should be ready for that. But she can handle it. She's tough. She's definitely tough. She castrates pigs, for crying out loud. Yeah.
Made them squeal. That was the ad.
Yes.
Coming back, we'll squeal with delight as we continue to get the wit and wisdom of the chicks on the right. They're coming back for round 2. You stay with us too here as America's Forum continues on Newsmax TV.
Americans have been hurting. But when we demanded solutions too often, Washington responded with the same stale mindset that led to failed policies like Obamacare. It's a mindset that gave us political talking points, not serious solutions. That's why the new Republican majority you elected started by reforming Congress to make it function again.
Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, as we continue our conversation with the chicks on the right, Miriam Weaver and Amy Jo Clark, great radio broadcasters, great website mavens, chicksontheright.com. They got a book we're going to talk about again in a little while. But Miriam, we offered just a little passing helpful criticism of Joni Ernst before the break. It is worth noting that she comes to the U.S. Senate with a very impressive resume. In fact, last night, giving that speech from the Armed Services Committee hearing room, because she's 20 years a combat veteran with the Army National Guard. So she brings solid credentials to the U.S. Capitol.
Absolutely. And we are huge admirers
Yes.
of her, without question. And we were so excited about her being elected, and really excited that the GOP was giving her a shot at this very important. It's the rebuttal is a big deal.
You just think there's a curse.
I do. I think
Yeah.
there's a curse. I'm glad she didn't reach for any
Yeah.
water or do anything like that. But
Yeah.
but again, and one of the things that I appreciated, but I think she'll get a lot of criticism for, is that she immediately right out of the gate said, I'm not going to talk about the address. I'm going to talk about the stuff Americans care about. I loved that, but I think the left will probably use that as a way to say she was given one job, to rebut the State of the Union, and she didn't do that.
And they already are, because I've already seen some buzz on the interwebs this morning where they're like, she did the rebuttal, but she didn't talk about the address at all. I've already seen article titles with that, so they're already doing that, which is like,
Well, here's the way we took it, Amy, Jo, and Miriam, and we had Betsy McCoy on with us on Newsmax TV. She said, she set the table correctly rhetorically, saying, look, let me have a conversation with the American people. But if you really listen to what she had to say about Obamacare and some other initiatives, she did offer a response. The other thing, of course, she did, Amy Jo, was she was saying, now, wait a minute, since the president forgot about the last election, here's why you sent us here, and here's what we're going to do. And the fact that she redefined it, Amy Jo, with Iowa being the first in the nation caucus in the upcoming presidential election, is she going to be mentioned even this early as a possible vice presidential choice?
I don't know. Possibly.
That's awfully fast.
Yeah. I mean, anything's possible at this point. When it comes to contenders for 2016, anything is possible at this point. But going back to her getting criticized, they're going to criticize, no matter what, the left is going to criticize her regardless of what. If she was a shining star and did everything perfect, in our opinion, they still would have criticized her for something. But it doesn't matter.
It goes, it's just part of the business when you serve in public office and you're part of the public debate. Now, Miriam, about a minute remains. And as we assess where we are heading, is there going to be any point of agreement between this president and the Republican Congress? And should there be?
There should be. There should be on things like the Keystone Pipeline, which is a given, and it's a bipartisan supported measure. And, Obama at times last night was so completely contentious and not conciliatory at all, given the results of the last election, that even I was shocked. And there's very little that he does anymore that shocks me. But yeah, I don't think he will. I mean, he threatened more, I think, than in any other speech, how many things he was going to veto.
Yeah.
So he's already making it very clear he has no intention of working with this Congress.
So, Amy Jo, I guess you just go back to him and say, hey, Mr. President, elections have consequences. Will that work? About 15 seconds, Amy Jo.
Will that work to say they have consequences with him? I don't know.
Okay. Maybe here's what we ought to do. Get him a copy of your book, Right for a Reason, Life, Liberty, and a crap load of common sense. Let's see, we have the authors there, Miriam and Amy Jo. We got their covers, so there's the cover of the book. You can judge that book by its cover. We're coming right back.
If you have Medicare and have a